This tropical planet-themed DLC is directly linked to the soon-to-be-released Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, and features new mode Infiltration and two new playable heroes, self-confessed rebel Jyn Erso and Imperial bigwig Orson Krennic. Infiltration takes the form of a multi-stage mode similar to the Death Star DLC's Battle Station. Like Battle Station, the mode begins with space combat, as rebels attempt to send U-wings through a shield gate in order to land troops on Scarif's surface. Rebels are randomly assigned U-wing control here, and although you might think it's a shame that the Imperials are only armed with TIE fighters and not the new TIE Striker, this is in keeping with canon, as TIE Strikers are primarily used for ground assault strafing runs and not space combat. After Stage 1, dubbed The Approach, combat moves to the planet's surface for the second stage, the Distraction. Here the rebels are tasked with destroying a cargo ship by planting explosives. The third stage, the Extraction, is similar to the rebels extracting R2-D2 in Battle Station. In Scarif, the rebels must deliver a data tape to the designated extraction point to win the stage and match. Infiltration is enjoyable, and I prefer it to Battle Station. However, there's still no depth to space combat, so if you're not a fan, you'll find the approach particularly trying after a few matches. The Scarif maps aren't the most inventive we've seen in Battlefront, but you can really only do so much when working with beaches and jungle, and they're different enough to stand out from previous map releases. One particularly frustrating element, which will hopefully be patched, is that you can't shoot through certain thickets of vegetation, to the point of it almost acting like an invisible wall. This is something we really shouldn't be seeing in 2016. Both Jyn and Krennic are exciting heroes to play as. Jyn is armed with the A180 blaster pistol, which can be switched to a heavy blaster rifle-esque secondary fire. She also carries a sonic imploder that plays havoc with enemies' vision, reduces armor, and damages those closest to the blast radius. Her truncheon can be used to deal a devastating melee attack too. Krennic's DT-29 blaster is particularly enjoyable to use, and feels much like a traditional Western 6-shooter. Like Jyn, he carries a sonic imploder too. As for abilities, he can deploy an astromech droid surrounded by a large shield, which also scans for enemy units and damages enemies with Dioxis. He can increase the health of nearby allies with an ability called Wrath of the Empire, and also grants other players the opportunity to become part of his honor guard as a Death Trooper. Death Troopers are great fun to play as, carrying a thermal imploder, smart rocket, and a beefy, heavy repeating blaster. Just look how it shreds even the enemy hero, Jyn. In fact, Krennic brings with him so many abilities and perks, Jyn feels a little underpowered in comparison. I wouldn't be surprised to find her beefed up a little in the next patch. Beyond Jyn and Krennic, Imperials gain the new Shore Trooper armor, which looks extremely cool and appears to prove popular amongst other players. Likewise, Rebels are treated to their own Scarif getup. Both outfits are immediately available and do not require unlocking. Scarif contains Turning Point and Walker Assault modes too, which is certainly welcome. However, I'm slightly disappointed that the actual walkers that the rebels are tasked with destroying on Walker Assault are standard AT-ATs, and not the new AT-ACTs we've seen in the Rogue One movie trailers. As per usual, Scarif comes with a host of new weapons and star cards, and what amounts to a fairly substantial DLC. So, my final thoughts: should you go out and buy Scarif if you don't already own the Season Pass? The answer is whether or not another multi-stage mode really appeals to you. Infiltration is the meat of this package, and it's probably one of the best game mode additions we've seen, but if you're not a fan of space combat, you may find those opening stages a little tedious. Overall, the two new heroes are fun additions, if a little unbalanced, and I'm sure Krennic will be a popular choice in heroes versus villains. My biggest reservation with this new DLC isn't the content, it's the maps. You've visited Scarif before, in Halo's Silent Cartographer, Far Cry, and Call of Duty World at War. It's a tropical beach, and it hasn't made for the most exciting maps. But that's entirely subjective. There's a fair amount of content here, and if you're as excited for Rogue One: A Star Wars Story as I am, then Scarif is likely going to be a must. Thanks for watching Goose on My Arm Gaming. Feel free to like, comment and subscribe.